one slide.
Okay, so what is the purpose of the orientation mentor? So at your tables, I want you to, we're going to start off right with an activity. I want you to talk among yourselves and come up with a statement about what you think an orientation mentor really is. What do they do? So talk among yourselves and come up with a statement for us. And then later on, we're going to tie that at the end. Oh, good. Thank you, Dave.
So just getting the people ready for their jobs.
Move along. We're going to tie this together towards the end. So we're going to start off today, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Canon City Mentor Program, how it got started, and why. So how it all began. In 2001, myself and 3 other very brave souls organized our local in an anti-union environment, and it was an anti-ESP environment as far as organizing go. Our teachers had a contract and had one for 30 years, but how dare those people do what we were doing? And so right after we decided to organize, we started meeting with our school board. And that's a whole nother story in itself. They decided to allow our recognition vote. And it passed pretty definitely. And right after that, I was elected president of the local. So it was my job to work with these administrators who absolutely hated what we were doing. They didn't like those people having a voice in their jobs. Fortunately for me and our local, those administrators were not in our district more than 6 months after we organized. So we had a new superintendent come in, and I felt a lot of pressure because I was a rookie leader, and it was my job to build a relationship with a superintendent. My past experience with the superintendent made me very fearful of even stepping in that direction. But I soon learned that they aren't all like that. Is anybody in here from Oklahoma? Well, this new superintendent was from Oklahoma. Good people come from Oklahoma. He ended up being awesome. He is my friend to this day. I feel very fortunate about having that position. From there, I was put on the advisory board at CEA, at the Colorado Education Association, for ESP. And I earned a scholarship to my very first NEA ESP conference. And like you newbies, I was blown away by what I saw. But it was what I heard that I took home with me, ESP talking about being thrown into their jobs with no support, not knowing where to go to answer questions, and they had lots of fear and anxiety, and that's exactly what I felt on my very first day on the job. And so I went home, and it bothered me a lot, and those conversations stayed in my head, and they played over and over and over. And so I thought there has to be a way that we can remedy this problem. So I went to our HR, who is a really cool guy too, and we had the discussion about this conference and what I learned and what I felt and how it affected me and how it affected all of you. And our program took off from there. I had no fight. I was lucky. They bought right into it, and we built this program, and it took off from there. So
They're coming on one-on-one here.
Oh,
there we go.
I didn't know it did that. I must be really techie. Wow. So when I talk about the importance of the relationship and support of the school district, we talked about the relationship piece. I'm a relationship person. I'm a blue person. I'm a feeler. I believe that you can get pretty much what you want if you build a very good relationship. And I found that with our new superintendent. The Canon City program was built in collaboration with the school district. And as a result, it helped to ensure that this program was sustainable over time. because we all had accountability. The association and the school district had accountability for this program. And it enhanced an already strong relationship, and it built respect and trust because we did this together. How does it benefit the school district? Well, I can't think of a better way to benefit a school district than to have successful ESP in every category across your school district. And to do that, you must be committed to do it. And so we became committed, and this program is a result of that. The mentor program builds leaders among ESP. You give someone a training and a title to be a mentor, and the district builds leaders that way, and so does the association. It helps to relieve questions to your HR. Imagine having, and I'm from a very small school district, so we have about 250 ESP, and that's pretty small. But imagine being a large school district and having 100 new employees or 200 new ESP, and your HR getting that many phone calls about questions that they don't know where to go to get the answer to. Helps to get reliable, accurate information to the new employees. Helps to create less turnover among employees. To me, that's a biggie. We want our students to have the same people there in their lives over and over with experience. So to me, that's big. It relieves the anxiety and fear amongst our new employees. So how does it benefit the mentor? It gives the opportunity to grow in a leadership role. It requires them to learn district policies and your master agreement if you have one. In our last training, I can't tell you how many of the people in that training did not know about the master agreement, which also told us that the association needed to do a little bit more work. Some of them knew about it, but didn't really know where to find it, so we handed them out in this training. And then we also talked to them about how to find their district policies and where to find them in their board policies.
Judy, can I interrupt you for just
Sure.
a second, too? Just out of curiosity in this room, how many of you are bargaining states? Okay. How many, do we have right-to-work states also in here, too? Yeah, that was a little bit of confusion yesterday when we were talking, because Judy was talking about a contract, and the right-to-work states were like,
What? Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about here? Colorado is a permissive bargaining state, which is what Judy was talking about. The district has to recognize you as the bargaining unit before you can get a contract. And we have a lot of locals in the state of Colorado that don't have a contract. So if you are a right-to-work state and you don't have a contract, then you need to work some of this into your board policies. And if you have questions on that, you can call Judy or I or email us, and we'll tell you how to do that. So sorry, Judy, I
That's
didn't mean to
okay.
interrupt.
That's
but-
fine. It enhances their communication skills. When they have their mentee, they're having to communicate one-on-one with them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Builds their self-esteem. Lily's speech last night was talking about believing in yourselves and believing who you are and what you do is important, and I think the mentor program can help with that too. Give them credit for movement on the salary schedule, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And it builds relationships and friendships. So how does it benefit the mentee? That's what this is all about, is helping our mentees. It sets them up for success. And to me, that's one of the most important things in this program, is setting our employees up for success. It's an avenue to get questions and answers with accurate facts. You know, oftentimes our new employees, if they don't have a mentor program, they're asking several different people, they get several different answers, and they end up doing the wrong thing or not knowing what to do and just avoiding it altogether.
Or getting conflicting information from folks.
Again, relieves their fear and anxiety, and helps them understand how the district works, their master agreement, board policies, district culture and building culture, and I think that's big because I think every little building has their own culture, and the district has a culture, and I think it's really important that the new employee buy into that culture. But most importantly, it creates the best learning environment for our students, and that is why we do what we do every single day. And you are probably the biggest part of our students' learning. So I think the mentor program can help with that. So we've got to put it all together. We've got to do the nuts and bolts. And so how do you do that? Well, we first figured out who our mentors and mentees were going to be. Now you're going to, if you put one of these programs together, it's not going to look like this, and that's okay. Ours is not perfect. We find that we make changes in it to make it better, but yours does not have to look like this. This is the Canon City model.
And one of the things we might mention to you too, yesterday, a gal from Utah was in here and they had 4,000 members as compared to 250. So it might be different to the size of your local. And one of the things that she asked us was, could we do it for one segment of the ESP? And we said, however you light the fuse, however you want to get it going, that's the best way to do it. And if that works for you, then that's the way to do it.
And if that's the way to start and then build from there, then that's good. So the mentors for us are employees who have worked in the district for 2 years. Now, the contract language is in here for you. It's really tiny. I'm sorry, I'm not techie, and when I printed it, I couldn't get it any bigger, so you might need a magnifying glass to read it, but that is our language. And it says 1 year, but they have since extended it to 2. I didn't have the current 2-year language there. It's the same, except that the year has changed. And an employee that is in good standing with the district. So it's pretty simple. If you've been in the district 2 years and are in good standing, then you can take the mentor class. The mentees are all district new employees. Every new employee in our district gets a mentor. So they all have the ability to go to someone with their questions and get answers. So our mentor training, we require any mentor, any employee that wants to be a mentor is eligible to take the training. Without the training, you cannot be put on the mentor list.
And in 1 hour today, we're going to show you what our 8-hour training is. So if we get to ripping through this too fast, please stop us and slow us down a little bit, because we're going to have to go pretty fast.
This training is in Canyon. It's an 8-hour training. So yesterday we did it in 3. And when they called and said we're going to do it in 1.5 hours on Sunday morning, I went, oh, good, okay. So bear with us. You're going to get the training.
The low down dirty.
The low down dirty quickly. So that's a good thing for these questions and answers thing over here. The one good thing about our training is we have an activity that we're going to do. Our HR, we have the training is done by our local. We have our state involved. They come down and do our training, and our district is in-house with us. We do the training, our HR sits in there, and it's a really good thing because the district hears things from the employees in that training that they find out are going on in the buildings, and some of it's not okay. And so it gets resolved right there in that training.
And they also ask a lot of questions about it too. And they, as we're doing our training each year, they continue to tweak
the program.
So it gets better every year. Mm-hmm.
So once the training is successfully completed, then and only then can they be put on the mentor list. So how long is someone mentored? They are mentored for a full year, unless the district feels like they need longer mentoring. How do the mentors and mentees communicate? How many of you think you know that answer? One-on-one is best. We always try to recommend one-on-one because you can't, they have free access to email and text messaging and phone calls, and however they want to meet, they set up their own schedule. It's between the mentor and the mentee. We always advise them and remind them that whatever you put in writing and you put out there, it's out there. So be careful about how you communicate with your mentee and your mentor. How do you handle different career families? We are all under one umbrella in our master contract. So what the district tries to do is put a mentor and a mentee together out of the same job category. We find that to be extremely important, especially with the health tech and the nurse's office, because of state laws, immunization, medication policies, those things that can run into some pretty legal issues. So they try to put them together. That's not always the case, but that's basically what we try to do. Salary schedule, the mentors are paid for their class, and they can move on the salary schedule. And so we're pretty lucky that our salary schedule has movement on it for leadership activities. So when I would come to this ESP conference, I would get credit for being here, for the hours I put in sessions, and I'd get to move. So that's the same thing for the mentors. And I'm moving rather quickly, so if I'm talking a little too fast, I apologize. I just want to make sure you get all this information. So collaboration with the school district and the administration, has it built trust? Absolutely. When you build a program like this and you collaborate and it's successful, it's built on respect and trust, then absolutely it does build the respect and trust. Mentoring training impact on non-members. I did not have, this was actually a question from the NEA to me. I didn't have the information on that. But what I do have and what I do know is that our last training, because we have non-members in our training as well. This is an entire district program. And we felt like that was really important. That put a spotlight on the association. So we put our non-members in there as well. Our last training, we had a bus driver in there. He was a non-member. He signed up, joined the association, and recruited 5 people after this program. So yes, I do believe it has some impact on our non-members. Mentor language. I believe you've got it on your table. If you're going to do this, I think you will all agree that anytime you do something like this, in writing is important. And so we have it in our master contract in the form of an MOU, and we're happy that we have it in writing. You never know who your new administrator is going to be. You never know when the new one that you build a relationship with is gone and somebody comes in like the one I had before, and then you have to make sure that they're toeing the line with this language. The individual mentee testimony you have on your table. This to me is
The
extremely...
one with bigger print on it.
It's the one you can actually read. This gal I mentored, I had 3 mentees last year. I had 2 health techs and an RN. I'm really proud of this because she struggled in her job the way I did. I managed to get through mine without a mentor, but it certainly would have been better to have one. I'm retired, so I had the time to go in and sit with her and visit with her. We'll talk about retirees here just a little bit later. She really struggled, and I don't know, we've got an RN in the room, how difficult it is to have 15 kids waiting to see you. You've got a parent on the phone, you've got meds you need to give, you've got a staff member who's unhappy because you send a kid back to the class and they puked all over. And those are the kinds of things that go on in the health office, and she struggled, and she was ready to call it quits. And I stuck with her, and I can say today that she's a very successful health tech, and I'm very happy that she's still on board. And so that's my mentor story as well. I feel pride in the fact that we're there to help our employees and to help our ESP and to continue to help them grow in their jobs. Encourage retired members to stay involved. I've been retired since 2013. I'm still involved with my local to a degree. I help my school district out whenever I can with this type of mentoring. But we carry the history of the association with us. with our local association. We have state history. We have history of our school district, how things used to be in the 80s and how they are now. And so I encourage you to keep your employees that you know that are going to retire, that are your members, your association members, keep them involved with your local at all possibility. What do I say to you about starting this? Well, I say to you that go for it. You never know what your district's going to say unless you have that conversation. If you don't feel like you can get it through with your district, there are different mentoring programs out there. There's not a lot, but Washington State has one. It's just through their association. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I encourage you to have the conversation with your administrators if possible.
And on the Ed Communities website, the NEA has a manual on mentoring as well, so you can go on there. Judy tried to get copies of it for everybody, and they're not putting it out in paper copies.
So it's on Ed Communities.
So it's on the Ed Communities website. And we know that because one of the gals in here yesterday brought it up on her phone. So
yeah,
we encourage you to look at that too, because Judy took a lot of stuff out of that for her program.
It was the old one,
yeah,
and I took it home with me, and that's some of this is from that. So I typed this up. So as a retired ESP, I am passionate about ESP issues and the things that can drive ESPs to be successful. Getting them to know how valuable they are to this profession and to believe it from the inside out. Believe how important you are. And Lily touched on this last night, and I was so excited that she did, because that is what we need to do. And I believe that this mentor program can start that conversation in your district. If you have a mentor program and people feel valued through it, and you can get them to understand how valuable they are to the students, then this step is all worth it for you. So that's the Canon City story in a nutshell here. Okay. So we have now communication. I'm a real communication person. I'm a relationship person, and I believe that our relationships are built through communication. And so I believe that communication is a means to successful mentoring as well. It starts from the top with your administrators and your developers of your program, all the way down to your little mentee.
You're good. Okay.
No, you're good.
I have to push the button.
So, according to experts, the degree of inconsistency among verbal, vocal, and visual elements of communication is the factor that determines believability. So I don't know how many of you have seen this before, but I would like for you to write down your estimate of the percent of believability when you are speaking. So what percent do you think all of these have when you're speaking?
And it has to
for
equal
believability.
100.
It has to equal 100. So take a minute and figure that out. Okay. So we're gonna move along here. So if you're close to these, that's awesome. Yesterday they were all over the board. 7% is verbal, what you say. 38% is what we hear, the intonation and vocal. 55% of what we see, effective, common, is visual. 55% is visual. That's why the one-on-one conversations are so important. So what types of communication do we have? We've got email, phone call, and text messaging. So we know what's missing in those. There is no visual in any of those. So we can misinterpret some of our emails or text messages because you can't see the person that's sending it to you. They may be happy, they may not be, but you don't know that. So what's missing in a face-to-face? Nothing. You get the visual, the vocal, the intonation, you get their body language. So that's why we recommend that you always do a one-on-one with your mentee. That's Not always possible, but we like to have you do that. Then there's confusion in communication. Oh, here we go. While communication is serious business, we often find humor in strange places. So the following statements were given to an insurance company. An invisible car came out of nowhere and struck my vehicle and vanished. I was on my way to the doctor with rear end trouble when my universal joint gave way, causing me to have an accident. Wouldn't you like to be this insurance guy reading these? The pedestrian had no idea which direction to go, so I ran over him. So I think we've probably all been in situations where you've either said something that sounded as stupid as this, or you've heard someone say something and you've tried to figure out what they actually meant.
All right. Now, you've been sitting and getting a lot, so we're going to get you to move around a little bit. And we're going to pull down some signs here. And we want you to go to the one that fits you best. Can I get you to pull that down right there? And our cameraman can pull that one down. That'd be great. If you are original, imaginative, creative, broad-gauged, charismatic, idealistic, intellectually tenacious, and ideological, we want you to stand by that sign. If you are an effective communicator, you're deliberative, you're prudent, weighs your alternatives, stabilizing, objective, rational, and analytical, we want you to stand by that sign. I'm going to have trouble reading this one. If you're spontaneous, persuasive, empathetic, you grasp traditional values, you're probing, you're introspective, and you draw out the feelings of others, we want you to stand by that sign. If you're pragmatic, assertive, directional, results-oriented, object bases, in other words, you base your opinions on what you actually see, you're competitive and confident, we want you to stand by that sign. And we want you to stand by the sign that most fits you. So take a few seconds and move. So as you're moving to the signs, you'll see up in the corner what you are. In other words, the people that are back in this corner are the feelers in the room. The people in this corner are the sensors in the room. The people over here are intuitors. And the people on this side are the thinkers. Okay? This is based off the communication styles, and usually we will give you a test, but it's going to take us too long. Judy's actually handing it out so you can use it when you do your training. But here's these are the effective aspects of who you are that you're reading here. I'm going to read your ineffective ones, all right? So I'm going to start over here with the intuitors. The intuitors are unrealistic, they're far out, they're fantasy bound, they're scattered, they're devious, they're out of touch, dogmatic, and impractical. And yesterday when we read that, everybody that was over here started running toward another side.
They did.
Does that describe you pretty well?
Oh, there's nobody at this table. What am I doing?
No, the positive parts do. Okay, very good. The thinkers over here are verbose, they're indecisive, they're overcautious, they overanalyze, they're unemotional, they're non-dynamic, controlled and controlling, over-serious and rigid. What do you think? I'm seeing people. So by the time I'm done, everybody will be running to the middle of the room. So, yeah, so the feelers over here are impulsive, they're manipulative, they over-personalize, they're sentimental, postponing, guilt-ridden, they have a tendency to stir up conflict, and they're subjective. Yeah. Yep, okay. And over here, the sensors, they don't see long range, they're status seeking, they're self-involved, they ask first and then think, okay? They lack trust in others, domineering, and can be arrogant. That's right. Yeah, that's me, I got it. So very quickly, we're going to compare each of you to how you would buy a car, okay? We'll start with the feelers. The feelers have to have a pretty car. It has to look good. It has to feel good. In fact, I drive a Camaro, I'm a feeler, and the first thing that drew me to my Camaro was the dashboard. Pretty dashboard. It was really cool, lit up really neat, all of that type stuff. So the sensors are the ones that go to the dealer, they step on the lot, say, I want that car and here's what I'm going to pay for it. Done. Done. Yep. The intuitors usually drive the most far out car they are. In fact, most intuitors will look at the little smart car because it's a cool looking little car. Nope, 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 nope. These two, I'm not sure you two are in the right place over here. No, that's not me at all, yeah. The thinkers have to know every aspect of the car. They have to know what it does, they have to know what the knobs are, what it's got under the hood, and you're also the ones that'll go to Car and Driver and learn everything you can about where the car rates. All right, you can return to your chairs. As you're going to your chairs, the reason for this is, and there's several different styles of leadership tests that we do. One of them also is the directors, persuaders, stabilizers, and analysts. And so you can look through these. Also, how many of you have been through the True Colors training? Yeah, the True Colors feelers know that they're blue, you know, so on and so forth. And what we do in our training is we spend one entire day on the True Colors. And then during our training, we also go through the communication skills, because it's important for you to know that not everybody's the same. And so you will, as you've gone through the training of each one of these personality skills, you'll start to recognize that in the mentee. And that helps you connect with them. If they're a feeler, it's guaranteed that sometime during sometime during the mentorship, they're going to cry, right? The thinkers are going to want to know why they're there and why you're their mentor and so on and so forth. The sensors just want to hear about it and get out of there. Well, tell me what you got to say and let's get out of here, all right? The intuitors are the outside of the box thinkers. So they're imaginative. Their brain is constantly working. All right, and so that the point with this is so that you know who you're training or who you are training as a mentor. When we do the training, we train you as if you are a mentor, and you can give that to the mentor as you're walking through it. Okay, or the mentee as you're walking through it. All right, power. We're going to skip through some slides quickly here.
Okay, so I think this one is extremely important. How many of you know the difference between a power and authority? There is a big difference. Power is the ability to force or coerce someone to do your will, even if they would choose not to, because of your position or your might. Power can be bought and sold, given and taken away. I don't like this, obviously. So then we have what we call authority. Authority is the skill of getting people to willingly do your will because of your personal influence. Authority is built on relationships, service, and sacrifice. Authority cannot be bought or sold, given or taken away. Authority is about who you are as a person, your character, and the influence you have built, the relationship you have with people. We tell our mentors when we're training them that they're given the authority to build a relationship with their mentee, to represent the Canon City School District, and this is not about power. How many of you know someone who's run in an election and been elected, applied for a job and got the job, and it went right here? All of a sudden, they're all powerful. And you know them. You can spot them right away. So someone that exudes authority is someone we respect a whole lot more than that person that has power. So we really emphasize this with our mentors. And that's one thing that I would recommend to you that you do as well.
And remember when we were talking about the Canon City model before, Canon City model is very collaborative. with their district. They built the program together, and that's the way. That's the reason it stays together since 2003, Judy, I think.
2003, 2004.
Yeah, 2003,
Sustainable
2004.
over time.
It has sustained into 2017, and every year it gets stronger because of that collaboration. There's no power there with administrators saying you're doing this and you're doing that. So, all right, at your table, we want you to discuss your first day on the job. Okay, share what your experience is, and then you know, share some common feelings that you had during that time. And then we're going to pick a couple of people at each table to report out on that. And we're only going to give you about 5 minutes. So go ahead and talk about it. Okay, folks, pick one person at your table who had an interesting story, and we're going to have them share it out. And we're gonna start with the middle table. Hey, we're gonna start with this table right here.
All right, so I guess they picked me. I really guess I've had 3 first days because I felt 3 positions. I started in the kitchen, and that was what I'd done my whole career, you know, up until that point. So that was comfortable. And I was a sped assistant after that, and that was a little different, but I had a really small, super small class. It was like 4 kids in the class, and a good teacher, so that wasn't too bad. The office, I guess, was the worst, that I just felt like I got thrown through the wolves, you know, with all these computer programs that I didn't know, you know, that aren't the easiest, you know, and so that's where I felt thrown to the wolves.
Okay, sounds good. Back table.
It looks like I was duly elected. I think like everybody else, you just kind of get thrown in, but 2 of us had the same problem. We didn't even know where the bathroom was. Like,
Yeah. Okay. This table.
Yes, I got elected. My first day, I had come from one district to another, and as a custodian, your job is to clean the best of your ability.
Right.
And in my old district, we were used to mopping our halls every night. And well, I got to the district here, and I cleaned everything, and then I was in the process of mopping my halls, and the head custodian came and asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm mopping my halls. He says, we don't do this here. I said, well, I do.
Okay.
Good for you.
All right. This table.
I moved from one state to another, moved from California to Utah, and I was hired after school started. And there in Utah, they hire kitchen staff at the school level. So I was hired by the kitchen manager and the vice principal. So all they said was, go sign your papers at HR. And that was it.
That was it.
And so I did that, and then HR's all, oh, fill all these paperwork.
Yeah.
Fill all this paperwork out. And that was it. I had no clue. It was completely foreign to me because California is a way different creature than Utah.
Right.
And it was very difficult to work through all of that. Luckily, I had someone in the building that became a mentor to me.
Right.
Reached out to me, but had I not had that, I would have seriously been, and it had to do with my retirement and things like that, and I could have really, you know, chosen poorly and really hurt myself in the long run.
Yeah. Well, Judy and I were watching you as you were talking, and one of the things that we noticed was even talking about your first day, we see anxiety in your faces and all of that stuff. And interestingly enough, we talked about this yesterday a little bit too. Some job classifications train their people really well, and they have to. For example, you're not going to give somebody a $4,000 bus and just say, "Hey, go drive it, have fun." You're good. You know, they go through a very rigorous program to mentor them in. But you look at parapros and secretaries and folks like that. 9 times out of 10, there's no mentorship. There's no training. We were talking yesterday about using the copy machine and not having a code. Not knowing that you needed a code to do it. How do I, you know, the teacher sends you down and says, I need this many copies, and you don't know the code to the thing. That's a mentorship thing. So the next few slides we're going to run through very quickly because what the mentorship thing is about is for somebody to have one-on-one, somebody to bounce things off of and talk to. And something as simple as, where's the bathroom? You know, where's the bathroom, and what can I do on my break? I mean, where do I go? You know, that type stuff. You may not even know. You may not even know that when you start. And I think of the lady in the back here that said, we didn't know where the bathrooms were, we didn't know where anything was. So something as simple as that, all the way down to who your supervisor is. Who supervised me? Is it the teacher in the classroom? Do I answer to somebody else? Who's going to evaluate me? Those are all part of the membership's, mentorship, program that Canon City has built. And it's to provide leadership to a mentee who is brand new to the building or maybe came from another district and doesn't know the ropes yet, all right? And so as we're walking
Hey, Dave,
through
can you
this-
go back to that
Yeah.
for just one
Yeah, you
second?
bet.
One thing I want you to pay attention to is at the bottom is
one-on-one.
the work-related needs.
Yep. Yep.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yep, thank you, Judy. So it also is for growth. It's to keep that person employed in your district, all right? And to provide a safe environment of encouragement, trust and respect, and it is a lifeline to their success. That's huge. It's a lifeline to their success. So how important is a mentor in this process? Go ahead, Judy.
And this right here, your mentee has to trust you. At all levels, they have to trust you. They're going to talk to you about things in their job that they don't want spread all over the district. So make sure your confidentiality is intact when you're talking with your mentee. That's one really good way to destroy this program, is to have mentors out there gossiping about their mentees.
Yeah. Or like we said yesterday, to have something you heard as a mentor end up in the mentee's evaluation. Horrible thing to have happen, right? So what's the mentor, what's the mentee? We're not going to read these to you. You can read them, but it makes sense. It's the mentor is the person who is the guide, the person who takes that person under their wing and shows them the things that you just talked about that you didn't have when you signed up for it. The mentee is the new person who may know nothing. And we were talking about different levels of mentees yesterday. Somebody that maybe came from a different school district might know some of the ropes a little bit better. Or maybe they grew up in that town, so they've been at the school a lot. And the mentor may not have to spend as much time mentoring on things like, where's the bathroom? What do I do with the copy room? You know, that type of thing in there, okay? Yes?
And you're training these mentors in the correct information to pass on.
Correct.
Because I think a lot of times everybody's got their own idea about how things should be done.
Well,
and you're caught in the middle. when
yeah.
you do it wrong.
Absolutely.
And that's why we stress, we have the master contract. You know, that trumps everything in the district. You'll learn that master contract front and back when you're a mentor, which is a really good thing for the association, right? Because then you've got people that know more about the master contract. Make sure you know where to find district policies. And your mentor's responsible, if they don't know the answer to a question, to find the right answer and get it to the
Yeah,
mentee.
it's okay to say I don't know.
Yes.
And we teach that when we walk through the 8-hour training. If you don't know, don't try to BS them, pardon the term. Let them know that you don't know, but you are very willing to go find the answer for it, to help them find out what's there. You don't have to be dad, you don't have to be mom.
You are not the parent.
Yeah, but what you do have to be is honest and trustworthy. That's the biggest thing, all right? And so we're going to set up the steps. We call them the rungs to the
ladder.
mentorship program in Canon City. The early rungs is just to guide and advise and support and assess. That's the main focus with it, all right? And so you have to have a first call to that person and to let them know that you're the mentor, and a first meeting with that person to do it. How long does it last? This rung could last anywhere from a week to whatever, till you get to know the person that's there. It's also building the positive relationships, the mutual respect, and a safe environment. This one to me is really important. listen, to seek, to understand. When I first started as a UNISERV director, and I know we have another UNISERV director in the room that can probably relate to this too, everything that the person was trying to say to me, I was always trying to think one step ahead and trying to solve their problem right on the spot. So I wasn't really hearing everything that that person had to say. And that's the one thing you want to do, is make sure you listen and seek to understand, all right?
Protect confidentiality.
And that's what we talked about, you know, you don't go to the, and you're going to have this happen as a mentor. And this is something you need to tell your mentors when you train them. A supervisor may call you in and say, what do you think of this person? You have to be really cautious with that. Because again, you don't want to become their evaluator. You want to become their assistant, all right? And then the early rungs are all about interpersonal relationships. You got to do a meet and greet, make sure they know who you are, all of that stuff. I loved what her question over here. Make sure you have the right information. There's nothing worse than a mentor who gives them wrong information on something, because then it just adds to their anxiety and confusion. All right. And I'm sorry to have to run through this so fast. Again, I'm not going to read this to you. This is what we give to them as their responsibilities. They need to know the mentee's job. That's important, because if you're a secretary and you're mentoring a parapro, you need to know what their job is. And if you don't know, then ask somebody that's there. We try not to do that, but sometimes it happens because of the number of mentors we need.
And this one right here, the positive role model,
yeah, huge.
that one is really important, because you are the face of the district when you're in a mentor role.
And you know that people will do this. You don't want to sit down with your mentee right off the bat and tell them everything that's wrong with the district. You know? And the other thing, you don't want to, you want to question the mentee correctly. You know, you don't sit down with your mentee and the mentee will tell you something and you say, you did what? What's going on here? That's what the positive role model is that we're talking about with it. And Judy's absolutely right. You are the face of the district when you're the mentor. That's what you're there for, okay? Judy, I think you've got this one.
So questioning and collaboration techniques. We're going to go through this pretty quick. Just remember your communication information that we talked about earlier. Seek to understand, listen, pause and allow time to think, paraphrasing, restating what they said, make sure you understand, probing, clarifying, balancing advocacy and inquiry, and ask permission to share. If they share something with you that you think you might want to share with someone, make sure it's okay with them if you share it. Don't just go out and share anything that they've told you, but there may be something at some point that you want to share with someone.
All right.
So we're going to practice. And this is going to be fun. I want you to buddy up at your table.
Do we have an odd number at any table? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 5 here. No, 6. I can't
Oh, we're
count.
good.
Yeah.
So we're good. Okay, so one of you buddy up with your person.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to do this really quickly, but this is really fun. So buddy up with your person. One of you is going to be a mentee. One of you is going to be a mentor. I want all the mentees to raise their hands.
Mentee.
Mentee, raise your hand.
Okay.
If you... Okay, let's pull this back together.
Okay, folks.
We pull this back together real quick. So I hope you guys had a little bit of fun with that. We would like to have you pick one person, one couple at your table to share their story out, to share their scenario. So let's start over here. You guys want to share yours? Okay, so let's listen up.
Okay.
So ours was, who do I talk to about health insurance? And Gina gracefully told us about the ESP rep that's on our insurance committee, as well as the wellness advocate that is typically at each building. She was very
Nice.
informative, actually.
Okay.
She told me.
Answer your own question right there. Yeah.
So let's go back here to this table.
Our question was, what do I
do if I don't get a break, and do I get paid for it? Well, this is a question that goes around all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it goes to, you need to take your half-hour break, you need to take your 15-minute, or your big break. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
In Canyon, we have a half-hour duty-free lunch,
Yes.
and then we have breaks built into our master contract. However, the breaks are on district time. So if there's an emergency that comes up, of course, you're not going to take your break. I mean, if you've got something going on, but very good. That I'm glad to hear that, you know, that's, yeah,
Nationwide problem?
nationwide problem. Over here.
Our question was, who do I talk to about my health insurance? And the initial answer was that, you know, she directed me to someone else in the district. And then later, as we started talking, she said, well, what's your question? Maybe I can answer it. And I said, that's very important, because if we can start answering some of the basic questions, they show reliance on the association rather than on the district.
Excellent.
Exactly, and that's what this program is about, to alleviate those questions getting to the HR or somebody who is really busy, but put a spotlight on the association. Yeah.
Can I take my homework, please, and do it there?
Say that louder so everybody can hear you, because this one is really important.
And do it there, please?
Not just no, hell no.
One of the reasons I threw that one in is because there is a district in Colorado Springs where people were taking things home, and their maintenance guys were taking their walkie-talkies home, or the radios or whatever, and being called. They got fined $650,000 because they had people working that were not being paid for doing their jobs at home. So if you know somebody that's doing that, I would recommend that they not do it.
Judy, I want them to answer the question in the clear back over here. Yeah, the one you had on your piece of paper. I'm just curious as to how you handled that situation.
Okay, so my mentee came to me with a question. My husband nags me all the time. I'm so tired of hearing this. He just won't let things go. Help me. Oh, gee. And I said, well, I wanted to say you probably need marriage counseling, but I just said, no offense to the man. I said, well, men can just be that way. So how's your job going?
That's good, because we're going to talk about that in just a little bit.
Yeah, very definitely.
Oh, good. I hope you guys had fun with that.
All right. I'm gonna go through the rungs real quickly here so we can get down to our last stuff that we're doing here. The middle rungs, you're really building the relationship. That's after you've met them, you've talked to them, you're starting to really get to know them, and the guide, advice, support, and assist becomes a little bit more natural at that time. And you will start noticing the lights start to turn on in the middle rungs. They'll start saying, okay, I don't have to ask you that question anymore. I understand how to punch the code in on the copy machine. I know where the bathroom is, you know, that type of stuff. And this frame begins once you've got to know them a little bit better, and you're actually building that personal relationship with them, all right? Again, being the resource, you're still doing kind of a lot of the same type thing, but now you're getting a little bit more in depth in what you're doing. It may move from where's the bathroom, how do I work the copy machine, to things like, okay, I got this piece of paper in my mailbox the other day and I'm not sure exactly what it means. How can I understand this? It may be more reference to the contract and the things that are in the contract around it too, okay? And then your upper rungs are when you've really, this is where the light really turns on for the person. And in my mind, I think the upper rungs, they feel like they're really an employee and they belong in that district. Or maybe vice versa. Maybe they feel like, wow, you've mentored me for a while and I am still lost as heck. Maybe this isn't the job for me. Maybe I need to do something else in that line. But this is later on, And so what we want to do is make sure that you complete each one of these tasks, and they're written on your thing. If you have questions about any of this, you can email Judy and I. We'll have our, if you look at the very last slide, we have our information on that very last slide, okay? Make sure that your feedback is positive, all right? That you're motivating that person to stay in the district and work hard. Try to stay away from, positive feedback is reinforcement. Negative feedback is often viewed as punishment when you talk to them. And that's where I come back to that, you did what? What are you thinking? That is not a positive way of doing that. Tell me more about your issue. Talk to me more. That's more of the reinforcing type. And no feedback at all is extinction. And that also means losing contact with that mentee. If you haven't heard from him in a while, call him, talk to him, find out what's going on, all right?
Okay, so it's important to know what a mentor is, but it's even more important in my mind to know what you are not. You are not the supervisor or the boss. There is a line there, and don't cross it, because that can create a lot of problems. And you're not the evaluator. So be very, very careful that you are not, your mentor might ask you, or a mentee might ask you something about, can you get on my evaluation that I'm showing up for work early every day? Well, no, I can't do that. I'm your mentor. There is a line there. We believe that ESP should be mentored by ESP, and that being mentored by a teacher or a supervisor is not advised. There can be serious conflicts of interest when ESPs are mentored by someone who is not an ESP. So we value the fact that we have ESP mentors stepping up to mentor our ESP employees. And then you are not a recruiter for the association. Now sometimes this, for those of us that are union thug kind of people, union recruiters, this can drive you nuts when you hear it. But really and truthfully, this is the easiest way to discredit this program in the eyes of the district or the administration.
And we want to add to that the focus of it being the union that has this, it's brought to you by the union, all right? There's also nothing wrong with if they have an issue that you think the union could help them out with, at that time saying, hey, we have advocates, we have a UniServe director, we have people that can help
local president.
You with this if you join the association. That to us is good advice. It's not necessarily recruiting. All right, but what we don't want you to do is sit down with the mentee and immediately start talking about membership and all of that type stuff. You are working on their problem first. That's the most important thing. You're working on their issues and what they need first.
And I really believe that the training in itself is recruitment. I mean, we heard the bus driver story. We refer to the master contract often. We've got our leadership team in the room when we do the training. We refer to the president often. So we make sure that we're extremely visible in that training, and that the master contract is floating out there everywhere. And it's trumps everything in our district. So you can use this to organize your members around getting a mentor program. So that's one really good thing too. And it's not about a promotion. You're doing this for service. You're doing this to help your fellow ESP. If you get a promotion out of it because your supervisor puts on your evaluation that you were a mentor and did a wonderful job, and that helps you somewhere down the line with whatever you're looking for with your job, so be it. I mean, that's what we're looking for. And this is really important. You are not a work or personal counselor. Don't get involved in their personal problems back here, right? There has got to be a great big line there. You don't want to get yourself in trouble and get caught up in some of that stuff. You're going to hear a lot of it. You're going to hear stuff like that. So please be mindful of that.
Yeah, and one of the things that we say here is you're not mom and dad. Some of the people they hire look so young. is another thing. I mean, you walk in and into an orientation and you're thinking, my God, they're hiring junior high kids all of
Yeah.
a sudden. But
Yeah.
remember that you're not their mom and dad, and you've got to keep those personal interactions out of it as much as you can.
And this is where the trust and the confidentiality come into, because you're going to hear all kinds of stories. And you don't want to be the one that's responsible for floating those things out there and having it come back as a result hurting your mentor program. So that's what you are not.
And it isn't your primary job. That's the other portion of it.
Exactly.
Yep.
So setting up your mentor program, you can set your program up any way you want to. This is actually an NEA slide. You can have a committee. You can make sure that you have a clear and written strategy, recruitment plans for mentors, selection process for mentees, training program for prospective mentors, matching mentors with mentees. That's something that our district does. We have our supervisors and our HR that actually do that. Track mentor relationships. And then here's the supporting our own manual that we were talking about. This is an awesome book. So if you can use that to set up your program, to set up your PowerPoints, to set up your training. There's all kinds of information in there. I really highly suggest that if you're interested in a mentor program, that you look that up.
And your best resource is standing in front of you right now. This lady right here, if you have questions on it, she walked through this, and their program continues to improve every year. So don't hesitate. I'm volunteering Judy here, did you notice? She's retired, she doesn't have anything to do. But the truth is if you get into this and you're really wanting to do it and you see stumbling blocks or you have questions, she's the person to contact, and we're going to give you her contact information here in a minute. Okay?
Okay, so we're going to share out now, and I think it's interesting to see that if you walked in here with the mindset of what a mentor is, and you wrote on here the things you heard here, that's awesome. If this changed your mind or broadened your perspective of what a mentor is, that's awesome too. So if I could just get one person to share out your statement, and I'm going to start back here this time.
Sorry, could you say it one more time?
Read your statement that you came up with earlier. So we're tying that together with here at the end.
To guide a new staff member to better serve our students.
Awesome. That's good. Right here?
To guide new employees on their career journeys and offer support.
Awesome. Over here?
The primary purpose is to support
That's good too. And over here?
Experienced people come in to help the newly inexperienced people learn and understand their job and their connections within the local.
Excellent.
I love it. Very good.
Did any of your opinions change from what you wrote on at the beginning till now? You guys hit it right on the head.
You know, they did yesterday too.
Yeah.
So that really tells me that the need for a mentor program, everybody feels like they need it, and they know exactly why they do. So that's good. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is something that's important, I think. This statement means a lot to me. You never get a second chance to make a first good impression. And so I try to live by that because a first impression carries everywhere you go. They remember that first impression.
And we apologize for having to run through this quickly, but if you have questions, the brunch isn't until 9. So if you have questions to ask us, you can either put them on that, or we'll stick around until you're done with your questions. Over here.
One good question. Like in Michigan, we have our ESP caucus.
Right.
Is this a training that NEA would take there if asked, and then we could spread it out from there statewide?
We could ask about it.
Yeah, I don't know if the NEA actually has a training. You mean this one right here with us? You can ask them. I mean, we would love to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
One real quick thing before any other questions. We did hand out a paper evaluation. You can also do it online, so either or is fine with us.
Please fill them out.
Please fill them out.
It
Yep.
helps us to do our training better and improve.
Other questions?
Any suggestions that you have? And there's a question answer sheet. Please write them down if we don't get to you.